Just because you messed up on your project doesn't mean that you have to give up on it right away. Let me share with you how I was able to salvage this flag when I messed it up. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Edgar with A Pine, and in this video I want to share with you how to create this custom police canine custom text flag in Carbide Create. I'm going to take you step by step. I'm going to give you all the settings, all the speeds and feeds and all that good stuff, and I'm going to share with you also how I was able to salvage it after I messed it up. Just to give you guys the background, I was rushing on this particular flag, and that's what led to me messing it up. For whatever reason, I just wanted to get this particular project done, so I was just powering through. I stained, carved, and sealed all in the same day. When it came time to sealing it, I did not allow for enough time for the stain or the permanent marker that I used to do some of the touch-up work to dry. So I rushed that part, and when I sealed it, I started getting bleeding on the text, and that just totally ruined the flag. As you may know, and you may have some of this experience as well, when you power through something and you think you're almost done and then it gets ruined, you just kind of feel defeated, kind of deflated, and I was definitely feeling that at that moment. When I showed my wife, who is my quality department, she asked me, is there any way to salvage this? And my response was, really, no, there is nothing that I can do. And in that same conversation, she mentioned that she prefers text that is carved into the material rather than text that is raised. It wasn't until the next day when I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought that maybe I could salvage it if I were to surface that text away. And so I decided to use my 1/4-inch end mill to surface the text and get a brand new fresh area to be able to carve into that material. So that is a tip that I want to share with you, that even if you ruin a piece, you may not have to throw it away or start all over again just yet. You may be able to use an end mill or surfacing bit to resurface just a small area to be able to get the carve into that new freshly prepared area. One thing to keep in mind, that I did remove the flag from the CNC to do all my finishing work. Once I had to go back to the CNC, there was no way for me to get it back to the exact spot that it was at before when I first carved it. So this only worked because I was able to carve in a new fresh area. Had I wanted to carve my police officer or my stripes once more just to get maybe a little bit deeper, it probably wouldn't have worked. I probably am not going to be able to get that exact alignment again. But because I had a brand new fresh surfaced area in the flag, within the flag, all I had to do was re-zero my Z's, my X and Y, and then I was able to get the text carved into that general area. Also, I did have to reset my Z0 at the location of the new area, or where the text would be going, because I am now carving at a lower depth than the original top of the material. So with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and jump into Carbide Create, and I'm going to share with you all the settings that I use to be able to get this carved.
All right, guys, jumping into Carbide Create. The very first thing that you want to do is set up the dimensions of your job. In this particular case, this design was a 12 by 23 inch flag. It is going to be pine, so it is a softwood. Go ahead and click OK once you have that set up. And once I had it all set up, I went ahead and imported the image. The very first thing that I did to prepare this carve was going into, I went into this design, went into this flag itself, and started deleting some of these vectors that I think are too small. For example, take a look at this one. There's no way that I'm going to be able to cleanly carve that. What tends to happen with these smaller vectors is that it'll carve with this bigger one. So it'll just kind of merge and it won't come out as clean. Same with these type of vectors here, where they are too close together. That's going to end up merging into this, and you won't tell that it's supposed to be two different vectors. So I would probably delete that. Right now I'm not going to show that process. It's just, all it is just going into this file and deleting vectors. But just keep in mind that is something that I did do prior to carving. So once I've done that, I went ahead and resized everything. The next thing that I did prior to carving was I did add the text. There are many different ways that you can just go ahead and get this aligned. You can just create one line of text and then kind of just eyeball it. You can create a square vector like this, get it aligned up to the corner of this design or this flag, and then resize it to what you think looks best. Once you have something like that, for example, you're then able to select the text and the new box that you just created and then align it vertically, or you can align it to the center, however you want to do it. Just some ideas on how to create text and get it aligned to where you want it. Once we have it all set up, we want to then create the groups for our toolpaths. As you know, if you've seen any of my videos, I like to create groups for toolpaths. So let's go ahead and create those groups. The very first group is going to be the stars. In this particular design, I want to advance V-carve everything. So I'm going to select everything and then deselect the stars. Everything else is going to be advanced V-carved. So not only is it going to give us pocketed stripes, what's going to be different is that it's going to give us a raised image. We're not carving the image into the material, it's going to give us a raised appearance. Same with our text. It's not going to be carved into the material. It's going to give us raised text. So let's go ahead and talk about the toolpaths that I used to get this completed. The very first toolpath that I ran was the advanced V-carve. Let me go ahead and show you the settings for this particular one. I ended up using a 2 1/4 inch end mill, and my plunge and feed rate were 80-90 with RPM at 18,000. The 60-degree V-bit came back in and cleaned everything up and got into those finer details. And the plunge and feed rate were also 80-90, RPM at 18,000. And the max depth that I carved this to was 0.04. Okay, so once I had that done, I went ahead and carved my stars. And the stars are carved with a V-carve toolpath only. I ended up using a 60-degree V-bit with a plunge and feed rate of 80-90, RPM at 18,000. And the max depth was 0.75, or the thickness of material. All you have to do is select stock bottom, and trust me, if you're using a V-carve toolpath, it will not go through the material. If you have any questions or concerns regarding the V-carve toolpath or the advanced V-carve toolpath, make sure to take a look at the video I've already uploaded, and it explains the differences between the two. So let's go ahead and take a look at this simulation now. As you can see, we have very nice carved stars into the material. The stripes are also carved into the material, but our police officer and the canine are giving us that raised appearance, and same with the text as well. So let's go ahead and zoom into the text. You can see here that the text is raised. And that's what I initially ran it as. This is the initial toolpath, but I did mention earlier that I did have to surface this general area. I actually had to get rid of all the text, and I did carve into the material. So the same premise here as the stars, I just selected the text and ran a V-carve toolpath. For the text, when I came back afterward, I used a 60-degree V-bit. The plunge and feed rate were 80-90, RPM at 18,000. For the max depth, I used stock bottom, or 3/4 of an inch thickness of the material, and I just clicked OK. And let's go ahead and take a look at that simulation real quick. As you can see here now, we have text that is V-carved into the material. So let me go ahead and show you some video clips of what this actually looks like. So let's go ahead and jump into that now.
When I do have to carve something with more detail, I do like to set my Z0 above the material, and I just want to share with you a real-time video clip on that.
Because there is some detail on the dog around the face and the eyes, the nose, I don't necessarily want to go to the bottom here of the top of my material. I actually still want to be a little bit above my material. And if you use the paper method, you know that the thought is to go down until you have no more movement on your paper. But as you can see here, I definitely have some movement, meaning that I still have some space really between the end mill and the material. I don't want to go until I have no movement, because then that means I'm really going to be carving into the material really deep. I want to be a little bit above the material, simply because I don't want to lose some of that detail. There's not a lot of math. There is no formula when it comes to this stuff. It's just all trial and error, guys. And this is something that you're going to learn as you progress in your CNC journey, that it's a lot of trial and error, but just keep the principles in mind. This is where I'm going to go ahead and do it at. I'm going to set my Z0 here, and let's just see what it turns out like.
Once I finished carving, I took the flag off the CNC and started painting the blue stripe. I'm currently using Behr Tanzanite for all my thin blue lines. Once I finished painting, I also used my black Sharpie to touch up the letters, and no more than 10 minutes after that, I sprayed the flag with polyurethane. I immediately got bleeding. Once I decided to surface the letters away the next day, I slowly lowered the end mill until I was just barely taking off the letters. Once I had the depth figured out, I would move the end mill at the fastest setting, left or right. I would reduce the speed setting, go down in the Y direction, increase the movement speed to the fastest setting, and move across the entire text again. I just repeated this until it was all gone. Once I had the text gone, I sanded the area to remove any remaining appearance of the text. After the area was sanded, I wiped away any fine dust and placed my Oracal vinyl. I have great success with this vinyl, so I'll link it below in the description of the video. Once the vinyl was attached, I ran the V-carve toolpath. Once that was done, I then painted the letters black. There was no special method here. I pretty much flooded the letters to ensure that there was good coverage.
All right, guys, so here is the final product here, I guess you could say. It looks actually really clean. In my opinion, it looks pretty good. I have nothing to complain about. The vinyl worked as it should. Maybe I'll touch up some letters. You can see like the A here is not complete, so I'll just touch that up with a permanent marker. But yeah, overall, very happy with it. Let's go ahead and finish it off.
Well, here's the final product, guys, and let me know what you guys think. I appreciate you guys taking a look at this video. If you guys liked it, make sure to like the video. If you guys like the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video. Thank you.